So, good afternoon, dear audience, dear data space enthusiasts. Great to have you here. I hope you are well equipped with some coffee and accompanying cake, and you had a great day so far, a lot of insightful presentations and hopefully also conversations and meetings. And my name is Lars Nagel. I'm the CEO of International Data Spaces Association, one of the hosts of the Data Space Symposium, and I'm really happy to be here with you and to, well, lead you through the next 1 hour and 20 minutes. We have a tough agenda today, and then we will have the evening gala with the European Data Spaces Awards later on. What I will do for you this afternoon is to talk about data spaces everywhere, and with that, enabling economic collaboration. And I will make a, tour through the world with you. But we will also talk about, how can we make data spaces a reality? What is needed? How can we support development of technology, creation of governance models, reflections on business perspectives? And I have a great list of speakers for that, and I will introduce them in the next minutes. I would like to use the opportunity a bit to make you familiar with IDSA. And so you had coffee and cake, so that means we can celebrate, right? So it's IDSA's birthday. International Data Spaces Association has been founded 10 years and 2 weeks ago. And we have worked on all the groundwork of data spaces that we can witness today. And the good thing is it's an ecosystem game. We have been doing this with a lot of partners, friends all over the world. And we are looking forward to a future of impact. For those who are not that familiar with IDSA or with data spaces as such, data spaces are, not a technology thing. They are not only a legal thing, they are a holistic endeavor. So there are technical complexities, legal uncertainties sometimes, and for most, a lot of business opportunities. And what we did in IDSA the last 10 years, and what we're still doing, is to build that circle so that you really have a thorough baseline for data spaces. And this shall hold true for all domains in all countries. So we have some fundamental principles, which are more like values for data spaces. Have a look at the manifesto for data spaces. I think you all will agree to that. So if you are from Brazil, from Japan, or from Denmark, we think they hold true for everyone. And then we have derived a governance framework, how you can set up a data space, which are the roles that are needed, who needs to interact with whom, and how does that look like on a stack of activities. So this is written in the rule book. So technical, operational, legal agreements, like a common governance framework. And then the question is okay, I'm working in that domain, we are using this technology, so therefore we have derived the reference architecture model, which is like a collection of best practices, so to say, patterns, how to build a data space. And all of that is always technology and policy agnostic. So you can use it in different domains in different countries. That is the idea behind. And then we derive things like the data space protocol out of it, so that you can have really an industry-grade, reliable base. So international standards, a lot of our work has gone to ISO standards, so that you can really build solutions on it and profit from that. We are doing this for one's sake. So at the end we need, to make this idea of data spaces happen. So it's like new features on top of the internet stack, so that we can really embrace the data economy. So data is an asset. We want to share it, so therefore we need to bring in trust, we need to enable something like data sovereignty, usage control, and things like that. And we can compare what we are doing here with data spaces with the GSM for the telecommunication. So you can use a mobile phone wherever you are, whichever brand, it just works. You can call the person wherever he or she is. And that is actually our vision for data spaces, that we come up with such a layer, soft infrastructure, however we call it, for data spaces. And you can see how the different elements, not all of this will be done by IDSA. It's an ecosystem game. We need contributions from other organizations, from other ecosystems, other technologies for that. And we are at a tipping point, I would say. I wanted to write it on the slide, but I didn't do it. So we are on a tipping point after 10 years. So therefore, we call it like the Data Space Season 2. So we had the foundation phase where like we were like trying this and that. Everyone is going to different places. Then consolidation happened. First, domain-oriented data spaces were built. Technology has been built, and now we are in that springboard phase, and we can also compare it, and we hear more tomorrow, with the Gartner hype cycle. So where are we with data spaces? Are we in the peak of how's it called, the official word? So of excitement, or are we in the disillusion phase, or are we already on the plateau of productivity? So we need to answer that, but we feel like we are in the springboard phase, and that is exactly what I want to stress in the conversation, but also, well, throughout the days here in Madrid. Well, let's see it a little bit like that. So 10 years ago, no one knew what data spaces were. So there were only like some people able to ride the path. You need special equipment, and it was very, very risky. Today, we are somewhere here, like the roads in Australia, right? So that's great, it works. You can come from A to B with a big, big truck, all fine. But maybe when it rains, the road is gone or something, yeah? And what is at crossroads? So you need to take some precautions, and therefore our joint understanding of data spaces as a soft infrastructure is probably something like the right part, right? So a very, well, complex but well-organized and well-oiled machine with a lot of conditions, policies, arrangements, technology, that just works. So you need not only the streets, you need the pavement, you need the traffic lights, signs, and some rules and policies, and then it works. No one dies on the street, right? So that is the goal with data spaces. And here what I would like to underpin, and maybe the colleagues can refer to it, data spaces are meant to like connect every imaginable endpoint with each other so that we can really lever the potential of the value of data. So we cannot talk about hundreds of companies or thousands of companies. We need to talk about millions of organizations that will participate in the data spaces. And when we talk about that, we have a massive scaling thing and challenge ahead of us. So we see that data spaces need to come, but currently things are still too complex, too costly, and that is what we need to overcome. We need to find massive scaling mechanisms so that data spaces will really become a global endeavor. We have just launched today, you find the press release, the Data Spaces Adoption Forum. That is where we have embraced the cloud service providers and managed service providers to ship data spaces in the basement of every SME, of every small organization and company, so that you can do data spaces as a commodity. It's just there. And then you can start in creating business based on top of it. And here, well, we need to face reality. So electricity was a great invention, but, well, in itself, it doesn't bring value. You need to do something. You need to have the users embrace it and build something like a telephone or the computer. And that is what we are doing in data spaces. We need to see, like, what do the different domains need? The manufacturing domain is different than the health domain, and Colombia is probably different than Japan. I would like to discuss that. And that is exactly what this session is about, to get insights from the colleagues from all over the world. So I can tell you we have Brazil, Portugal, Colombia, Germany, Japan, and Spain, and that is really inspiring, and it's all over the world. And here in the auditorium, you'll see so many more countries. So we have representatives here from Europe, all over the world, Switzerland, China. Get in touch with the colleagues and ask them, what are you doing? How are you doing that? And therefore, we will illustrate a little bit how that looks like with some presentations, some pitches, and then a concluding panel discussion. And I'm looking forward to introduce the first speaker, who is Ernst Stöckel-Puckal from Germany, from the German Ministry of Economic Affairs. And I think, so he is behind a lot of the very successful data spaces. So you have heard about Catena-X and Manufacturing Initiative. And what I ask him for is like, what can be like the big initiative to bring data spaces finally to real industrial adoption, to business, to a macroeconomic benefit for all of us. And that is what data spaces can do. And Ernst, the stage is yours. I'm looking forward to your insights and your call to action to our audience. So they're all at your service.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Lars. You had the pictures. There was a green one, then there was desert, and then there was a crossing with many cars. I would prefer the green one to do a trekking in the forest, but I think we want really to move forward. Lars, you gave me also the title of our session. I don't know if I would have chosen it myself. It's about the Berlin Declaration, but there's an important message behind, because it's constantly, there are economic ministers from the European Union are meeting informally, and then they give a declaration, yeah? And this time they concentrated a lot on industrial AI, on digital sovereignty, and very clearly on the necessity of interoperable and trusted data ecosystem as basis for industrial AI. This is really a saying which is completely understood. But what is a message? I will come to that a little bit later again. We need not only ourselves in this room here, we cannot make it alone. We need the high level in politics, we need the high level in business, in companies, to really to move this big thing forward. We have achieved a lot, but sorry to say, we have still big challenges ahead. And what I want to say today, what have we achieved? What challenges are ahead of us? And will be industrial AI a push forward? I would say yes. Let's see it. Some of you might remember 2 years ago, I presented this double helix, I call them. It's a role model about data ecosystems. And when I talk about data ecosystems, my view is more the industrial data ecosystem. And my view is really how to build a real open ecosystem, data ecosystem and more, which can really help many domains, which is interoperable and so on. Think big. It's not about solving 1 or 2 use cases. It's about something like to establish a huge infrastructure which can serve many domains, many activities, without having to do everything ourselves or themselves. And this is really the bigger thought. And you know, it's about influence, build, run, and scale. And I will show you where we, from my point of view, stand today. We have influence. Influence means you need some organization or a group which can really speak for a group of stakeholders to define the common goal and how to reach it, how to align objectives. Without that, a data space is maybe not strong enough. It can be still valid and necessary. I talk about the bigger data spaces where you want to integrate a lot of stakeholders and maybe to be cross domains and many use cases. So what do we have today? We have achieved something. Oliver Ganser was already here today morning and presented Catena-X, and he always said from the very beginning, we have a pain in the automotive sector, we need data to increase quality, and. There was a clear use case, a clear idea we needed, and a clear understanding that you need an open ecosystem to really to grow such use cases and possibilities. We have Descartes X in France, which is for aerospace. Yeah, I'm sure there are others I have not mentioned. Please excuse me. And we have not only in Europe, we have organizations. We see in Japan, for example, IOFDS, which is taking care of such stuff. But it's clear, not too many. And internationally, we have the International Manufacturing X Council, where we have around, I think, 12, 13 states are part of it. This is not a legal entity, but even that might evolve over the time. What is our challenge? We have not enough organizations, companies, who are really ready to invest in such kind of organizations. We don't have it. And if we organize 20 or 50 domains, and there are companies who are part of so many domains, they are not ready to invest in 20 organizations. Think about it. Maybe we have only one chance really to integrate it. Second, we need a strong mandate from stakeholders. That's why we have to do it. And we have to understand what is the systematic approach to data ecosystems. Not only what is the solution for one use case. The use case is there to show how the system works and then to do more use cases. Sure, we have to start from use cases, and we need also simple use cases for small and medium companies that really want to be on board. Yeah? So that's stated, we have many projects, but different state of maturity, or there may be a different understanding of what is the core system of a bigger ecosystem. Second, technical building blocks. Lars, he talked a lot about it. We have many technical building blocks. Yeah? We have a data space protocol. We have a trust system. Simple is developing, financed by the EU Commission. We have a lot of Eclipse open source projects. So there's a lot of here. But still, there is the challenge that existing code will be adopted and used by different domains and across domains. We need interoperability, and we have really to mean it, not only to say it. And one example is what I really see as a basic element of data ecosystems. That's what is in the Tractus X project within the Eclipse Foundation. Here is not only define some connectors, you also define in an open source way with contributions from outside, from many companies, you define so-called use case kits, where you define a use case, where you set the standards, and so on. So you describe role models. With having this in an open source manner, you can build later on the applications in a competitive manner. We need competition for the services. This is the ultimate goal of data ecosystems. So I would really wish that Tractus X, and there was from my colleagues, I don't know if there was a presentation, but I really would wish that you look all what it means, how you can use it, if it makes sense for your specific data space project. There is no need maybe for all, but for many it can be a good solution. And we should avoid that we define use cases 20 times instead of only 1 or 2 times on open source components. So targets, we need a strong global community process for open source development. I think this is key. If we don't manage that we across the globe contribute to open source software which is needed in data ecosystems, it might become difficult. So standardization, comprehensive documentation, I think you know that all, yeah? So I think a lot is achieved. We know exactly what are the key elements, but really do it together and push it forward. Then we have the part 1. You need to operate. And once we have first operating companies, so there was before a presentation by Cofinity X. Cofinity X is a good example. It was founded in the context of Catena X, but now it's absolutely open for good reasons for all other domains. What are the learnings? It's very difficult to do this operating part on a service level, SLA. It costs money, you have to take risks, and you have to pay if it goes wrong. So it has to be invested in that. That's expensive. If we try to do it for each and every domain or data space, it might become expensive and will not succeed. But we know that's a challenge and the target. Only to have 1 or 2 opcos would be not enough, though. We want to have a competitive system out there with many opcos. We need interoperability between opcos. And sure, that's what I said before, apart from the operating company, which has certain tasks, but an operating company is not offering, in that role model at least, not offering applications or services. These services and application can be used or should be used by developers, software providers. They have to compete to bring the best solution on the basis of a data ecosystem. Here again, you have the connection between the use case kits, Drug to 6 I said before, and applications. For me, these 2 elements are key in an ecosystem which is based on competition and not to have only one service or one solution for one problem. We want to have many and to have interoperability. Roll out and transfer. We have a substantial number of activities on national level, on European level. I'm sure in all countries you have a lot of activities. The challenge is still that the data readiness of companies is not there of many years, but there are too many which are not, which is normal, but we have to take care of that. And I still think the benefit of data ecosystem is not so easy to get, and there's still a certain reluctance to invest in it. So we have not managed to trigger real investment. We have to think how we can improve that. And robust business solutions are not available to a great extent. Yeah. Catena X, they have already productive applications. I think there are many others outside, but we don't have business solutions which can just take it. It's easygoing for the complete community or companies outside. I started with industrial AI before. And industrial AI will only thrive if you have a cloud and edge infrastructure, which is sovereign, and so on and so on. And here we are, and why we are required what we are doing. I think we are key and essential to form the industrial data ecosystems as soon as possible in a really, let's say, think big, not too small. Because if we want to produce industrial AI domain models, we need data, and this is sensitive data. Nobody just hands over it to you. Nobody hands it over to any big tech company in the world outside. Is it a European or a non-European company? So we have to find a way to create a mechanism which you don't have to create every day again and again, which is more automated and trusted. This is the work we really have to do to make more things possible than today. And then we will have sovereign foundation models, hopefully, and this is a basis for industrial AI of the future, and this will change the economy. Roland Busch said recently, this industrial revolution now with AI is many times faster than former ones. Yeah? He said in the 19th century we have the steam engine. Yeah? It took 60 years. Electricity took 30 years. Yeah? Here we have maybe 5, 7, 8 years. It's a very fast process, so we have to speed up. We do already a lot on the European content. The IPCI AI is coming. We have 50 member states. IPCI stands for Important Project of Common European Interest. This is an integrated project where many member states can come together and do it with matchmaking and cooperation to bring not only single projects on the road, but to have a bigger goal. And we have 50 member states which are pushing that, and we hope that end of the year we have it on the road. That's a goal. It's really tough. But we want to create these sovereign foundation models, not only coming from one big company or two big companies. Yeah, we want that the whole economy, the whole SMEs can benefit from it. And so we need another ecosystem to build on top of the not only, but of the data ecosystem. But without the data ecosystem, it won't work. We have already the Aura Cloud Edge Continuum. There are already the Open Nephos Foundation, Linux Foundation, where we have a continuum where we can connect different kind of stacks smoothly. Yeah? and such things. Just have a look on Aura. That's not so bad, but not many people know. And IPCI, CIC, I don't tell a lot about it, and you know already about Manufacturing X, I don't have to mention it. So there's really plenty of things on the road, but don't see them separately. Yeah, you have to have a spirit which comes together. Maybe not for the use case, for the simpler use case today, but over the years, you need much more low latency, you need much bigger, more complex use cases, joint engineering, and. You have to build this data ecosystem to a big scale. Yeah, we need to act fast and together. It's clear the objective of all countries in the world is to be more innovative, to be competitive, and to really strengthen their own economies. Though industrial AI is for me a game changer. I think the pain talking about industrial AI is felt much more intense than about the pain, do I need a data ecosystem, yeah? I think it comes together, but I'm sure that industrial AI can be the game changer, and it really pushes us to speed up. Data ecosystems are key to industrial AI. I said it many times. Sensitive data is the main ingredient for quality domain models. And there's an urgency to get organized. If we are not organized and concentrated, what are the key elements of these ecosystems, open ecosystems, I want to say, then it's very difficult to be fast. Sometimes you need decisions, orchestration, we have to set something up. And this is not done. That was the influence part I mentioned at the beginning. And we need it not only for the data ecosystem, we will need it for what comes out from the idea of IPS AI or industrial AI and for Aura. So let's see it and take it. IPCI is a chance and opportunity to realize the concept, and that was the very beginning of GaiaX, by the way, of distributed, trusted, and federated ecosystems for a thriving industry. So let's take it in our hands and do it and really say what we really need to be fast, apart from many different solutions we need for domains, for regions, and so on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ernst, for all the details and for the call to action. And yeah, we'll push everyone tonight and throughout the day tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing everything with us.
Thank you very much.
Now we do a long trip to Colombia. Andres Arias from Colombia, from the Chamber of Commerce of the city of Medellin. Please join us here. You over there. So great to have you. Thank you for joining us here, and most importantly, thank you for sharing insights with us. The stage is yours. Great to have you.
Thank you. So good afternoon. Thank you so much for the whole organizers, and especially for ITSA and ITI, that is part of the strategy that we have in Colombia. We are with my colleagues from Colombia here. Is join the path that we are going to talk. It's important for us because the cluster, the ICT cluster that we represent, is part of the Chamber of Commerce. It's not usually a way to approach this kind of initiatives and projects, but it's important because, as the name of the speak tell, is from trust to action. One of the most valuable assets that we have in the Chamber of Commerce with the businessman is precisely the trust. It's part of our initial approach from data spaces. We want to continue with this and learn a lot about the data spaces. It's an honor to be here, truly honored to be here and share with us a little history. But we want to increase these kind of cases and explode the whole potential of the data spaces. I'm going to take the initial history that the Boris tell us at the morning, because they told about the Apple tree and how is going to grow in and harvest the apple fruits. I want to change to the coffee plant. Do you know Colombia is very, very famous with this kind? And where is Colombia? We are here. Colombia and Medellin especially is part of the South America. We are in a very strategical location in the world. We have the opportunity to have a lot of sectors, manufacturing, textile, even in creative industries, because as you know, we have a lot of singers, very talented singers. In every sector that we have the opportunity to explore use cases, in this case, of Colombia. But we have a lot of data, but with an issue, a fragmented data, and the knowledge about the governance principles. So one of the steps that we are following to explore the whole potential and deploy the data spaces in Medellin and Colombia is how to train the people, how to train the businessmen, the companies, and how to build a very well and concerned governance models to deploy the data spaces. Another is the reason that we are here is because we are following the international alignment and frameworks, because it's important for us to share whole initiative with the whole world. It's part of the goal of this presentation. So we are advancing. Initially, we need to part of the trust, as I mentioned it, but the training is the way, is the tool, but not the goal. It's very important to us how to get the whole action and start this kind of projects. And thanks to ET from Valencia, because they believe in us and support the training, the initial training the last year with 4 sectors: tourism, smart cities, agriculture, and the sector of health is very, very well with. I'm going to tell you about the 2 cases. We need to understand the whole relationship, because the whole ecosystem. As a Chamber of Commerce, as a cluster initiative, we have the opportunity and the advantage to take projects with academic, with public sectors and private sectors, and how to articulate the whole ecosystem to get the right path to increase the knowledge and to deploy this kind of projects. So it's part of our advantage. Any other organization that we are going to approach this kind of institution to get more consensus about the potential of the data economy. I'm going to show you 2 cases, 2 early cases. I have the opportunity to share with Innova. He is here in the auditorium, because Agro 100, as you can note, once aims to become a very truly data space, because we have the potential to connect the agricultural farmers with the local providers and the supermarkets and the local the whole supply chain, to get the data and guarantee the trust economy with the agricultural. So beyond that, we have the opportunity to create new public services through the data. It's important. This is the case use and the purpose of this kind of initiative we are leveraging. Another case, there is the more maturity in the ecosystem that we have, because the health ecosystem, leading by a cluster of Medellin Health City as a cluster of health, is important because the level of maturity of this kind of sector provides the perfect situation to establish a data spaces approach. So we are working, because maybe 3 years ago, in how to establish the purpose, the main purpose. Now we have the opportunity to mitigate the cardiovascular risk through the data with the whole institution, hospitals, and every actor in this ecosystem. It's important to pursue the data, the health to business oriented strategies. This is an economic opportunity for this sector in Colombia. As I mentioned it, from training to pilots is not the goal, but training is an enabler. We want to know, that's the reason we are here, we want to know, we want to apply this kind of knowledge and concrete these roadmaps, concrete the projects in every sector, in how to share with the whole ecosystem, the global ecosystem in data spaces, and in advance to get the harmony with the whole data, and good governance is very important for us, and continue to deploy these kind of projects. At the end, it's a call to action. We are here, we need support, we need your advice to continue and to establish the real path in the data ecosystem with a global community as you. We are truly honored to be here, and we expect from you the whole support that you can share with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the comprehensive insights in what's going on in Colombia, and I hope that you all have like interesting hooks to have conversations with Andres and the colleagues here in the next hours and tomorrow. Thank you very much. And now we're turning the globe again. I'm looking forward to introduce to you Professor Choi from South Korea, from the Korean Advanced Institute for Science and Technology. Great to have you, and the stage is yours.
It's the first time to join to this symposium. I'm from the University of the KAIST. KAIST is actually #1 engineering university in Korea. And currently I briefly introduced to the data ecosystem in Korea. And then title is first we established to the International Data Research Collaboration Institute in Korea. We have a lot of history. Second one is development strategy of the data ecosystem. This development strategy, something is my personal view, not the government. Last is if you have interested in some technical issue, collaborate with Korean people, and then I extract from my developed technical paper document in the ITUT. This published last October. During the last 4 years, we developed the What's a Future Data Ecosystem, and we call it the Web 3.0, Future Data Asset. And then we have a very long history, similar to the IDSA, established 10 years ago. Also Korea, also maybe 15 years ago, the new president of the Park Geun-hye, at that time we call it the Government 3.0, followed to the United States. We have all of the government data, public data, organized all together. And then after that is, I expect to the more than several $100 million for every year is focusing on to the data. Also, I expect to the more than 100 projects every year, 100 projects maybe relating to the data. It means that a lot of the industry, a lot of the government, a lot of the people try to study on the data. But during the last few years, government review them, audit them, what's the actual result. And then last year they conclude is the IDRI Promotion Committee established the new institute, arranged all of data inside the Korea. Because each individual is a body, they developed their own way. And then we keep the one. That was the conclusion. And then first step is last is November, Gaia Hub Korea get the ceremony. And then its objective is maybe follow to the first step is Gaia X Hub. And we review all of its activity in the world. And then we decide to the European manner is best way to follow. That was a Korea government decide them. And then we have a focus on the standard. Personally, I am a expert up to the ITOT during the last 30 years as a head of a Korean delegation. And then we have arranged of the data, the network aspect. Also after that to the IPTV also is a data world. I have to try to coordinate them. Also data space activity, currently more than 100 different types of data space activity in Korea. We coordinate and organize them. This is the plan of the IDRI. And then we have to collaborate with the GAIAX also. Maybe IDSA, maybe we have try to follow them. And then this is established to the IDRIs. And then we have a 5 subcommittee. But most of the difficult issue for data space committee, there's a 14 domain actually covered to all of the Korean country. And then standard, maybe we have some excellency. A lot of the experts who join to the ITU, ISO, whatever, is very easy to, making a standard. Also, maybe we try to collaborate with some European partner. And then this is an area. Currently, it's IDLI, arrange all of the individual is the domain. First step, we try to contact with the Ministry of the Transportation. Transportation information is very important, including not just for the transportation, also including the logistics. Also new drug, we try to develop the new drug, maybe follow to the Melody project in Europe. That we call it the Korean Melody, K-Melody project. We have to initiate them. That structure is very similar to the existing Melody project running by the European style. And then we call it the European style, very logical. And then this is the reason the Korean guy is the follow to the Europe. And then currently we review up to the how many data center in Korea. I roughly calculated more than 200 data center already running on it. Also currently under construction, very widely. Nobody knows. Very big. Maybe follow to the United States. A lot of budget to support to the established data center. Also existing organization, their own data center. And then what's going on to adapt to using to the GPU AI to running on the AI machine on that environment. And then deployment strategy. First step, we have to currently AI agent, very outstanding issue. And then data sovereignty is very important. Who own them? Who has got the license? And then this is a very important issue. And then technically, also politically, we try to take a step. And the second one, we try to build up to the blockchain technology. All of the trading, maybe contract, will be based on the blockchain. But the existing Bitcoin, Ethereum, not enough. We try to invent, also adopt another type of the new blockchain technology maybe needed. Last one, we have a future open is a society is running onto the existing web, maybe emerging to the Web 3.0, and also existing online industry maybe emerging. And then we currently is all of the Korean guys study onto the evolution of the AI world. Even the network people, they developed their own AI technology applied to the wireline network and wireless network. Also platform, decentralized AI platform, radically change them. Existing database, all of the organization has their own database, maybe changed to the AI database. Maybe we have a study onto the Google BigQuery machine running on Gemini. We try to take a similar step to do. And the trading will be based on to the AI-based automatic transaction. It will be based on the blockchain technology, smart contract technology running onto the a blockchain environment. But the blockchain, sometimes some people reluctant to adapt to the blockchain technology. And then we try to find a way, existing And also it's a market and user acceptable trading platform. Maybe my talk is maybe. And the last one is the DAO concept. Data governance is very important, and the trust is very important. If you see the ITUT document of relating to the data trust, most of the basic document will be developed by my group. Overview of trust, a trust index document, whatever, basic document developed by my group. KAIST developed that kind of document. Also, we have expected a new opportunity of the data ecosystem. Maybe radically changes after to the stable coin. We expecting to the existing financial mechanism, financial system, radically change to adapt to the stable coin. And also digital asset, even the data world must be adapt to the, it's a way to the cyber currency and the digital currency, whatever, after to the stable coin. That was the application. And in detail is we have if you have a time to try to read it, it's this document. This is around to the 100 page, more than, looks like 100 page. Maybe it's very useful to read it in the future world of the data. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Choi. Very interesting insights, and yeah, obviously we all shall help to make all the red color things like orange and then green. So let's make that links. So one speaker got lost. A dear colleague from India will not make it, so I had to adjust the setup a bit. So we hear now like some shorter interventions from the next 4 speakers, and then if we find some time, we also have like a panel discussion. And I'm super happy to announce Mateus Pierre from Brazil, from Eldorado Research. And so I let you know that IDSA turned 10, and he's with us since 6 years. So this international thing on data space is really going on since some time. Great to hear latest insights from you. Mateus, the stage is yours.
Is it work? Yeah. So thank you, Lars. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mateus. I'm the Software Development Director at Eldorado Institute. It's a pleasure to be here today to speak about the progress of data spaces in Brazil. For those who never heard about Eldorado, we became IDSA Competence Center in last year, but we are a member of IDSA since 2019, just like Lars mentioned. We are the biggest research and development institute in Brazil in information and communication technologies. Today, we are more than 2,000 employees working with software development, hardware development, microelectronics, and professional training, including for companies from all different sectors in Brazil. And I'm also very happy to be here today because Brazil is now entering in this global movement toward trusted data sharing, which is really important for us for our future. So, let me go. So speaking about now the Brazil's path to data spaces, we now understand that data is a strategic economic asset, and we also know that trusted data sharing is one of the basic pillars to boost the innovation in our country, in all segments. Our intention is to combine the public sector data infrastructure with the private sector data infrastructure to innovate in different areas, manufacturing, energy, automotive, and any other kind of industry in Brazil. Our intention is not to build only isolated data spaces, but to have a national ecosystem of data spaces, and then Eldorado as a competence center together with ABINC. ABINC is the IoT, Brazilian IoT Association, which is the IDSA hub in Brazil, and also GaiaX hub. Together, and with the support with other organizations, we are supporting Brazilian government and the industry in this data sharing movement in our country. So speaking about the public sector data infrastructure, more than 80% of our population has access to the internet, and we have a very broad 5G coverage in our country. Consider that we have a huge territory to cover with 5G. And we have 3 of the biggest public data infrastructure in Brazil, which are the GovBR platform, which is a platform for public services, the Social Security, which is a platform for retirements and pensions, and the CAD Único, which means unique registry for social benefits in our country. And then the Pix key. Pix is the instant payment systems in Brazil, almost 1 billion keys for hundreds of millions of daily transactions for money transfer. And we also manage more than 20 million IoT devices from different segments with diverse complexity. So we have a very mature, many mature digital platforms in Brazil, which shows that our ability to operate in this kind of a complex scenario with security and interoperability. Speaking about some private sector data infrastructure, as most of countries in the world, many of the private data, they are concentrated inside the companies. They are not shared. They are sit in silos. And this kind of situation with a poor governance, this kind of scenario, they limit the innovation. So we want to change this kind of scenario in Brazil. We also have a very cultural barrier when we speak about sharing data. Whenever we talk to the industry, the companies, we say sharing data, everybody gets afraid. So we have to be clear the purpose of sharing data and what we want to achieve by doing that. And of course, we have to respect all the regulations we have in our country. So this is a good opportunity to apply data spaces to improve the data economy in Brazil. So there are many scenarios we could speak about here. Since manufacturers, they generate a lot of data from their machines, so we can explore, for example, predictive maintenance or automations when we share data to add intelligence on top of it. In case of our retailers and e-commerce platforms, they generate a lot of trends and also purchase patterns, which opens a lot of opportunities for us as well. Hospitals and health services, they hold a lot of aggregated health data. So if we add intelligence on top of it, we can have more intelligent diagnosis and many other health services to our population. Suppliers, they track products along the whole value chain. And the government, of course, they have a lot of public data sets. So our challenge is to integrate all those data assets and provide more quality services to our population. So in order to do that, Brazil, especially the Ministry of Industry, they are creating a national data economy policy in our country. The main purpose here is to understand that the data is the engine of our economy. And of course, we want to have more improvements in our productive sector, creating new products, new revenue streams, process services. And in order to do that, this policy must address some key challenges like who owns the data, under what conditions the data can be shared. We have to break those cultural barriers when we speak about data sharing in Brazil. And also, we have to promote actions to boost the data economy, and of course, respecting all the regulations we have in our country. So this policy is based on European case. We know that Europe set a benchmark in terms of digital regulations, not only for data spaces, but for AI, cybersecurity, digital platforms, etc. So many of our Brazilian policies, they are based on European case. In case of our National Data Economy Policy, it's being based on the Data Act and Data Governance Act. And because of this alignment of Brazil's regulation to European regulations, it makes us a trusted partner for multinational companies and international consortia, for example. This specific policy has 3 main pillars. First one is regulation, who is going to set the rules to operate the policy in Brazil. The governance pillar, which will define the institutions who will coordinate and implement the policy in our country. And then the last pillar is the data sharing space, which is the technical environment, the practical environment, which represents the data spaces itself. Of course, we will have also specific government funding to create this big ecosystem of data spaces in Brazil. So it's a very important push we're going to have from the government to create this national ecosystem. Of course, there are many benefits we expect from this policy in Brazil to increase productivity, to create new products, new revenue streams for the companies. We also want to create better public services to our population, integrating all those data access I mentioned before. And of course, we have to promote an institutional framework to ensure that we will be compliant with all data regulation we have in our country. And last, in parallel to this policy, we also have a program in Brazil called Open Industry Brazil. This program was created by ABINC, and we are a strong supporter of this program. The idea here is to bring more awareness of data spaces to Brazilian industry, and then support them to adopt this data sharing culture to boost the innovation in Brazil, especially inside the industry, creating new products, improving the productivity of our industry, and then opening new revenue streams to our industry. So there are different working groups today working in different sectors of our industry, agriculture, manufacturing, logistics, and others. So we hope this program, together with our policy, will really boost the trusted data share ecosystem in Brazil, and of course, boost the innovation in our country, okay? So, quickly speaking, this is what I have for today. Thank you, Lars, again, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mateus, for the very important insights, and now we know a lot more. May I ask you to sit down for a moment, and then I ask you stage later? So, the next guest, you know her already, so Ruth del Campo from Spain, so from the Spanish ministry. She was on stage already in the morning. Please join me here. She will share with us now a little more details on what's going in here. So we all have big expectations on Spain, what you are doing here to push data spaces. So therefore, curious to learn more.
Yeah. Thank you, Lars. And hello, everybody. It's me again. I wanted to share, as Lars mentioned, a little bit more, going a little bit deep dive on what we are doing on our national plan for data spaces. For those who could maybe not join in the morning, essentially two big main messages, or three main messages that I shared. Our strategy was focused on a top-down approach with regard to funding and strategy, but a bottom-up approach with regard to creation of innovation and actually execution of the projects. That was our first main idea. And the second main idea I shared is we focused our national plan on the three main actors that the data spaces contain, which are the owner of the data space, the one who sets the rules and who ensures and manages the data space, the technology industry, who develop the software to actually create data spaces, and the participants, all the data owners who want to join and share. So these were some of the pillars. And of course, that was what actually, as mentioned before, what actually drove us. I think this works. So the results, and we are in the middle of the plan, but the results so far, and this is that we have 300 projects. Approximately 100 of them are related to technology projects related to data spaces, and 200 of them related to data spaces creation. And this means 400 million euro mobilization, which means what is the private funding and the public funding that supports. The public funding is about 280 million. And when we look at the results, and if we go deep dive in what it means that we have projects in every single autonomous and region in Spain. And that's quite impressive because we have 55 regions, so like we have quite a number of cities and 17 regions. And we have projects in every region. And as mentioned also at the beginning, every region masters on different types of projects. For example, the Basque Country masters on industry projects, and Andalusia and Extremadura masters on agriculture projects. One of the other things that I didn't mention this morning, but I want to stress out, is that with regard to the sectors that were more prominent in our calls, we identified the health sector as the main sector which was more dynamic, and they were much more clear on data sharing, which is quite impressive, right? Because health data is sensitive, and it's not easy to share. However, I think there was a combination of regulation. In this, there is a European health data space regulation which has been approved in the European Union, which promotes data sharing both for primary use, which means when you go to a doctor, the doctor analyzes your data, and then that means when you go to a doctor and you get out of your data a diagnosis or a treatment, and for secondary use, which is all the other, other type of use, which is not related to a direct connection between doctor and patient. So we identified that the health data was actually the most dynamic in terms of sharing, and we have really interesting projects which relates to lung cancer, for example. We have several different projects and related to diseases. That's the most prominent type of projects that we have. Also cardiopathologies or diseases related to aging, and all of them are creating networks within hospitals, mostly public hospitals in Spain. And this, with the data that they are sharing, they are able to improve their efficiency, for example, on identifying patients for clinical trials, or identifying also, like working with the industry, with the pharmaceutical industry for real-world evidence, and in addition also to personalized treatment. So these are the most common projects that we are funding with regard to health data. Agriculture has been also very, very, very active, and we have many different projects. We are seeing that the Spanish agriculture industry is becoming really, really strong on data sharing, and because there is a need for them to improve their logistics, and there is a need for them to improve the efficiency of the soil, and and to ensure that their crops are efficient. As I mentioned, one of the things that I think it makes us a little bit more special is the creation of this sectoral data space reference center, with the whole aim of essentially two innovative ideas. We want to accompany and support all the data spaces that are sharing. We support them also on the convergence and on the interoperability, and we are also providing technical guidance and specifications. So we are working with the different sectors, and there is a session tomorrow that we will go technically on what we are sharing to improve, to help them on the interoperability masters. And last but not least, I think I haven't talked much about this, but this is a call which is actually open for any company in Spain right now. It's called the Data Space Kit. This is the call for the third actor, as I mentioned, which is the participant actor. Essentially, we want the data spaces to be sustainable, and we want to support on this journey. For that, they need participants. They need more hospitals if we are talking about a health data space. And this is what the Data Space Kit does, and we are supporting companies who are actually providing data to a data space through this grant. And yeah, it's something that is open up for the next couple of months still. So if anybody's interested, that would be it.
Thank you very much. So I think this is also co-organized by the Data Spaces Support Center, and I think we are all interested how that also could relate to the activities that are going on there, because we have to give services and value to the whole ecosystem.
That's true. Yes, one thing that when we developed the Data Space Kit, we didn't want to limit this kit for the data spaces that are beneficiaries from our calls, from our previous calls. We wanted to open it up. So we created a reference list of data spaces. So any data space which qualifies could apply, they could apply, and we actually just approved a couple of data spaces because this has started in the last couple of months. We have approved the first data spaces which are not beneficiaries from our calls, but they are data spaces that exist, but they qualify because they have a structured governance, they have participants, they have the catalog, they have the rules and regulation, and then they can apply, and then the participants of the data spaces can also benefit from the data space kit.
Great. So looking forward to learn more from these success stories. And so may I ask you?
Yes.
So to give room to the next speaker, so we turn the globe a big way forward again. So to Japan, Masaru Dobashi from Entity Data, very important person of our whole ecosystem, pushing a lot of activities from different angles. Great to have you here. Thank you for making the way, and the stage is yours, Masaru.
Thanks so much. So, thank you, Lars. I'm Masaru Dobashi from NTT Data Group and from Japan. So today, I will talk about our insight from our global activities. So the title is Unlocking Business Value Through Data Spaces. Yep. So again, nice to meet you, everybody. I'm Masaru Dobashi. What I'm doing now is leading the global data space initiatives in NTT Data Group, and also we are implementing the actual practical data spaces in all over the world. And of course, the local development is also one of our mission. And actually, I have a multiple hat today. I'm talking as a NTT Data Group, but I'm also the visiting researcher of the University of Tokyo to promote the fundamental or basic research project regarding on the data spaces now. So the behind the picture is just an example of the NTT Data Group. We are very actively promoting the data spaces in all over the world, not only including Japan, but also including all over the world. So as the previous speakers talked, there are a lot of hot areas. For example, manufacturing areas, one of them, and the mobility, energy, and so on. And recently, we have involved the healthcare domain stakeholders in Japan, the University of Tsukuba people, and so on. For example, this is just an example. They are trying to collaborate with the European initiatives to conduct the more advanced research to reutilize the wide variety of the data, including the cohort data and something. So we are supporting that kind of initiative globally. So, okay. So why data spaces? Why now? So we cannot ignore the AI. So AI is the reshaping the business practices, business systems. So the need for the trusted, the cross-organizational data flows has shifted from the optional to the essential. So this is very similar to the human body. So your brain needs the blood, and the AI needs the data. The difference between a human body is you can utilize the neighborhood's data with trust. So you can scale out your brain utilizing AI. But we need to be careful about the phase beyond the compliance. So maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, maybe IDSA is 10 years. Yeah, maybe a couple of years ago, many of the data space is started from the compliance approaches, but we need more active approach. So business goals we need now. So let's change our mind. So business goals first, the data spaces as enabler. So there are the 3 keys we've learned from our experiences. So the first one is to design the sharing boundaries. So unlike the internal systems in the company, you don't own the full pictures. You should share the pictures with your partners. And secondly, we should overcome the trust asymmetry. So no bilateral API, many-to-many, with unequal trust levels. So we need to co-design the federal governance so all parties participate as equal. The third one is you should engineer the network effects. So scaling is not just adding users. The value must grow with each new participant. So expand use cases laterally to create a new participation intensives. So this is a final slide for me. So we need specification flexibility and maximizing network effect to shift our mind to the business domain, business-driven one. So standardization, of course, drives trust and scale, yet rapid technological evolution and diverse user needs demands adaptability. Balancing specification rigor with flexibility is a key to maximizing the network effects and long-term user value. So why flexibility matters for us? So diverse regional implementation coexist all over the world. Specifications must keep the pace with the technologies. You have a state-of-the-art technologies, yeah, we need to keep the technologies. Then network effects grow with broader participation. So this is why in last year we have published new mathematical meta model based on the existing data space architecture model, the called data space high-level architecture model. This is a truly scientific mathematical model, not a model for the implementation, but a very mathematical high-level architecture model. This is a joint research with the University of Tokyo, Koshizuka Laboratory, and we have proposed this model to the IEEE Big Data Conference, and adapted that one. And we have also published this paper to the archive, so you can download it. And please feedback me. This is a very young research project. I would like to know your feedback, so please feedback me. But anyway, as a summary, we have published a paper to deploy the formal abstraction layer over the various variety of the architectural model in the world as a scientific model to realize the common languages to talk with each other in scientific manner. So we are trying to realize a rigorous interoperability analysis tools utilizing these abstracted models. So NTT Data Group is contributing to the data space initiative like this one from the very logical scientific level to the actual practical model. So key point is the shifting from the conceptual level to the practical level, including the business motivation. Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you very much for the great insights. Yeah, well, a lot to digest, so have a look at that link, and let's not forget to also include the companies and the implementation level. We discussed that separately.
That's right.
So who has counted? Like, how often did we turn the globe? I think 4 times or so. Now, from Japan to Canada. Keith Jenser from the Digital Governance Council from Canada. looking forward to, well, conclude that session with insights from Canada, what's going on. So you have like embarked the data spaces train like with high speed. So curious to learn more. Stage is yours, Keith. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. And thank you very much for the invitation to join you today. I'm going to talk about advancing data spaces in Canada. One thing to keep in mind, we don't really call them data spaces in Canada. We kind of refer them more as data trusts or cooperatives or collaboratives. But I'll tell you a little bit about what's going on at home. I don't need to, these slides will be shared with you, so I won't go over into detail, but certainly do take a look. It's important to recognize that when we're talking about the compelling reasons to share data, that there's often spillover effects in relation to whether it's the consequences resulting from a specific event or a development. And it can potentially, in terms of compelling access to share data, it can also extend beyond the original scope as to why it was originally collected in the first place. And so there's this notion between the governance of the data and the stewardship of the data. So we've heard a lot today about the different structures, architectures around the technology. We've also heard about the control apparatus when it comes to how organizations control and ultimately where ownership rests and how you access data. Fundamentally, and in the circles I'm part of in Canada, engaged with public and private sector institutions, this is less of a technology problem and fundamentally more of a governance and trust problem. And so I'll ask you, just with respect to yourselves, how comfortable are you sharing your own personal data over the past 5 years? Are you more comfortable? Are you less comfortable? Think about that a little bit. In the context of your personal data, would you share it in the context of shortening healthcare wait times? And then also, in your opinion, who benefits most from the data sharing? Do you see it more as a business benefit, a consumer benefit, or government? So I'm going to show you from a Canadian perspective, what does this actually translate into? So in Canada, we conducted a survey back in 2024. We did it in 2022 as well, and the data fundamentally has not shifted. Canadians want more control of their data. I think that's probably no difference than here in Europe. But it's important to recognize that as much as they want more control of their data, if you look at that bottom bar chart there, they are less, 18%, are more comfortable sharing their data today than they were 5 years ago. And then when it comes to what are they willing to share data for, mainly it comes down to health. Emergencies, health, and fundamentally where they're opposed to is around personal advertising, access to new product launches or services, personalized product or service recommendations. What's interesting about this is those are the most common things that we're bombarded with every day, is with respect to having personalized service delivery and product differentiation to you being advertised against. But yet in the Canadian context, those are the things that Canadians perceive as the thing they wouldn't want to have shared in comparison to health. And then when it comes to who benefits most, Canadians are quite cynical about this, in Canada, with respect to data sharing practices, it is the businesses that fundamentally, 73%, close to every 3 or 4, and then governments, and then for themselves as consumers, a mere 4%. So there's a huge trust deficit. There's a trust dynamic here with respect to how Canadians would in fact want to provide access to data as much as they want more control and agency of that data. And then when it comes to where and who has ultimately the most trust in Canada, it is the banks, governments, and credit unions that are at the top of the list. And then below that list are the technology companies, the online retailers, and the social media companies. And so this concept of digital trust, and I know you've heard a lot about it today with respect to those controls and data kind of central in the middle, and how do you provide agency to the individual to indicate where they consent and where or what information they would have shared. So consider the concept of data minimalization. Is there data effectively that can be used in such a way that can benefit me as an individual? And so much so that I would have entrusted a data space or other way in which of sharing that data in order to reap those benefits. And so as you look through these various technology layers that intersect with data, and as you go to the outer rings of the governance, this is really about the people, process, and technologies. So we not only need standards with respect to the technology, we not only need standards with respect to the processes, but we also need standards with respect to the individual competencies with respect to who is effectively stewarding that data. And only through that outer ring of having standards and certification can we realize a trusted digital ecosystem and trusted digital organizations. This is another way of kind of looking at it, where if you apply the governance associated with the data, couple that with the technologies and the people, you can enable things like patient-centric healthcare, consumer-directed finance, open banking, as it's fundamentally called, safe food supplies, connected cities, all of which are use cases we've heard today with respect to what's happening in other parts of the world, and where the benefits rest with which particular data spaces and what particular use cases. But only until we have established the associated governance and the controls associated. And what's interesting in the data space arena in Europe is it's often talked about the controls as those who are the owners or the authorities over that particular space. And I've heard a lot while I've been here in Europe about how it's each individual space that applies specific rules in relation to. And so with respect to that, I would just suggest and add a recommendation that look into how you ensure a responsible data space in such a way that Canadians or Europeans can benefit from. And so with that, I will leave it just with this standard to say that there are national standards in Canada that effectively are establishing appropriate ways in which to apply agency to the person, as well as being able to steward data. And so as you look to harmonization and alignment opportunities, I leave you with that and look forward to further conversation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Keith, for, well, the insights. So at least we got a lot of keywords, a lot of things to read. So if you accept, we will provide the slides so that everyone can consume them afterwards. Thank you very much. And then we can integrate all the colleagues from all over the world into our activities. So what is more important than, what is more complicated than building data spaces is keeping 7 speakers in time. So I need to stop here, so we cannot go for the panel discussion because we have like 2 more speakers to end the day. So I say goodbye for the moment. I invite you at 5:45 to the IDSA booth out there for like a short celebration of our anniversary. And I'm also like standing here with one sad eye as International Data Spaces Association. We could only give you a glimpse of what's going on data spaces in the world. So last year, in Warsaw, we had like a strong focus, especially on the global south. That has been missing a lot. So there are very interesting things going on at the United Nations on data governments that I would like to have brought here to the stage. We have the 100 data spaces from China. Great things are going on in Australia. So therefore, I think we can immediately craft the agenda for next year. So, thank you. Therefore, I say goodbye and I say hello and welcome Mario Campolago to stage. You do not know, so he's not here as like the professor of the university in Portugal, but he was the director of DG Digit, the European Commission, and so he has well, watched the ecosystem since years. He has intimate insights, and Mario, I couldn't imagine anyone better than you to close the day. Thank you very much for being here.
Very kind of you, Lars, for your words. Good afternoon, everybody. I must say that it's a real pleasure to participate in this symposium that is dedicated, as the name says, to data spaces a concept that, as we have seen, is rapidly becoming one of the foundational pillars of the global digital economy, more and more boosted these days by AI. As we could see in this session, data is a global strategic resource. The global challenge lies, in my mind, no longer in generating data. Actually, we already produce vast amount of it, and by the way, most actually not exploited. But I was saying that the challenge lies no more in generating data, but in sharing it securely, interoperably, and in a trusted manner, so that it creates value for governments, for businesses, for researchers, and citizens alike. In simple terms, the key question is no longer whether we share data, but how we share it, and under which conditions of trust, sovereignty, and scalability. Looking ahead, the emergence of AI-driven economies makes data spaces even more critical. Artificial intelligence, as we have seen in one of the parallel sessions, depends on access to high-quality, diverse, and trustworthy data sets. Without trusted mechanisms for sharing data, many organizations, and particularly public institutions, will remain unable to fully participate in the AI economy. Data spaces become, therefore, an essential enabler not only for data innovation, but also for responsible and inclusive AI development. From an European perspective, data spaces are not merely technological platforms. They are, in fact, and we have seen it again and again repeated, governance frameworks. They should represent a multi-stakeholder undertaking, requiring coordinated efforts from industry, from governments, from standard bodies, from open source communities. And only through this joint action can actually the global community ensure trust, reduce complexity and cost, and unlock cross-border value creation at scale. I think that we can say that Europe's approach is shaped by three realities, some of them mentioned here already today. First, our economies are built on complex industrial ecosystems: manufacturing, mobility, energy, health, smart cities, where the value is created across supply chains, not inside single platforms. Data spaces enable this distributed collaboration while preserving control over data, fostering, for example, vertical AI or industrial AI capable of extracting value from our very valuable industrial data. Second, trust. Trust is not optional. Regulations such as the Data Governance Act and the Data Act, and in the morning we had a very good presentation about the omnibus, digital omnibus. What they do is that they express a societal choice. Data sharing must be lawful, transparent, and enforceable. What is then the role for the data spaces? Well, they should translate these legal principles into operational trust framework, building upon identity, authentication, users control, security, traceability, and compliance, all of these by design. And third, Europe believes that sovereignty does not mean isolation. On the contrary, digital sovereignty only works if it fosters global interoperability. That's why Europe has invested heavily in open standards, open source software, and certification mechanisms that can be adopted and adapted worldwide. It's not by chance that side by side with the CHIPS Act, the technological sovereignty package that will be released very soon by the European Union will include Cloud and AI Development Act and an open source strategy. Well, it is precisely in this context that the work developed by the IDSA, the Big Data Value Association, the Data Spaces Support Center, the GAIA-X, the Simple initiatives become all very relevant. Because these initiatives shows that data sharing does not require centralized ownership. Instead, they demonstrate that it is possible to build federated ecosystems where organizations keep control over their data while still enabling trusted exchanges across sectors and across borders. Well, in this session that we just heard, we heard how different regions are shaping data spaces according to their realities. From Europe, through the Berlin Declaration, a clear premise stands. Digital sovereignty today is exercised through data. How it is shared, under which rules, and for whose benefit. Data spaces are actually there in the declaration, positioned as a foundational layer of digital ecosystems and also of artificial intelligence, anchored in trust, interoperability, and most importantly, democratic values. And from Colombia, we saw how data spaces are being used as a development lever to modernize institutions such as the public administration or the health sector, to support other sectors such as agriculture, and enable participation in the global data economy. And from Korea, we saw something equally important. How data spaces are becoming operational with smart contracts, data identification, subscription models, tokenization of assets, and billing systems that turn sharing into a viable business reality. And in the panel, with perspectives from Brazil, thanks Mateus, from Japan, thanks Mazuro-san, and Canada, Keith, and also the perspective of Spain by Ruth, that was very important because Spain is a country with a multiplicity of autonomous regions. And I think that one common insight emerged despite the different contexts in the different countries, is that every country or region values data sharing, despite, as you said, some cultural barriers, sometimes in very sensitive sectors, like health, all of them very relevant in the broader context of data sovereignty, and all of them are open for cooperation. This means no region wants data isolation. And look, cultural tendency for isolation still constitute a relevant tension for the global data economy. But like the internet before it, I think the future will not be built on a single centralized model, nor in a fragmented national silos. It will be built on a shared foundation with a local autonomy degree. And this is where Europe's contribution, in my mind, becomes particularly decisive, because Europe's real power in data spaces is not yet scale, let me put it like this, as Boris would say. It's probably not even speed, but it's something that is more structural. Europe has been able to translate trust into architecture, values into governance frameworks, and policy objectives into implementable standards. And the data spaces already showed that trust must be designed, not assumed. And as it has been said in the morning, by the way, it has a cost. Interoperability must be engineered, not negotiated ad hoc. And sovereignty must be enabled through rules and technology and not enforced through isolation. And dear friends, given the volatile and unpredictable geopolitical dynamics of today, sovereignty becomes these days a very paramount factor that needs to be operationalized. By separating data control from data location, by embedding rights, obligations, and trust directly into the technical and the governance layers, and by allowing participation without loss of autonomy. But as we saw this morning, what we are witnessing now is a significant transition from experimentation and pilots into production-grade services, real use cases, and cross-border scaling. We can call it, as Lars said, a springboard phases. Other persons will name it the season 2. But Europe's role should not be necessarily to export a single model. Instead, to offer a common language that includes interoperable standards, experimentation at scale, reusable software components, certification governance patterns, and open multi-stakeholder collaboration. If Europe succeeds, data spaces worldwide can interconnect much like the internet does today. Globally interoperable, locally governed, and economically viable. So the key takeaway from this session for me is very simple but very powerful. The global data economy will only scale if trust scales with it. Europe has shown how to make trust actionable. Europe moves consistently through earnest cycles of influence, build, run, and escalate, and is open to collaborate globally. The challenge now is therefore collective, to align standards, to reduce complexity, and to move faster together. Because the time for theory is over, and the infrastructure of the data economy needs to be and is being built right now. And you guys, you need to be the ones building it. Thank you.
So, how's energy level? Do I have some energy still in the audience? In any case, I would first of all thank you very much for the intensity of today and all the great discussions. And I'm not sure if you also felt it, but for me it felt different today compared to years ago. And I really feel that we are not talking about what could we do with data spaces, what are potential use cases whatsoever, but today it really felt like we're talking what's next and what do others achieve, and we share nice cases that really impact our society. Yeah, so I would like to also highlight that with adoption comes also impact, and with impact comes value, and that we really now reach a level where we can say we achieved it. And we have now a standing ground that we together developed, however you would like to call it, but in any case, we can build on something now. Some of you may remember that we started with drawing boxes, what a data space is, and so ever. And now we really see that there is a shift from an academic activity over practical research, let's say, to really what we've seen the last 1.5 hours here on stage, global diffusion of the initial ideas of Boris and his colleagues. And we really now reached some kind of industrial phase that Boris liked to call the season 2 of the data space development. And yeah, we can also see that we're not building islands anymore. We talk together. We have IDSA, Gaia X, Catena X, whatsoever. They really talk with each other and try to align. They don't want to build separate islands anymore. And the DSSC, I would say, is one of the houses where everyone comes together, try to share requirements and develop something together that can be used to create this global standards for value creation worldwide. The second thing I wanted to highlight is that we really see data silos breaching and thriving ecosystems develop. As I earlier said, Catena X, for example, automotive industry was very siloed, I would say. But now we see data sharing is really happening out there. It's not just a concept or what I just said, like, we could do it, let's do it someday. No, it's really happening. Companies share data, they develop use cases based on it, and it's really cool, I would say. The third point, blueprints. I know the DSSC has also a blueprint, but it's not just PDF creation. You know, it's something that is used out there and creates measurable impact. And so 3 points I wanted to highlight of today. And it's really the next question that we have is really, how we can together maximize the impact, create the maximum value that we could achieve. And this is something that we show later in the award ceremony, where it's really showing the impact that different over 60 initiatives have registered for the awards. Well, only a few can win it, of course. But this is really a celebration of the architects of trust, I would say, in our data economy world. So saying this, again, thank you very much for shaping the future of data together with all of you. I'm very much looking forward also for the second round of DSSC that hopefully will start very soon. And with that, thank you very much. But one last thing, I would like to ask all the DSSC colleagues on stage for a final photo. So please, everyone who is involved in DSSC, come to the front now. It was not communicated before, I think, but I should ask all of you who are here for a photo. I hope Anna will do it. She asked, no, we have photographers. Yeah, it's a small DSSC photo, but...
Oh, wow. Okay, where are the ladies?
I would have brought my tie like there are many people missing still, but is Anna... This is the hard
No, Anna is, she's at the award ceremony already, yeah.
Some people have to work. Right, some people.
So...
Sonja, come on over.
Please, I'm the only woman.
That cannot be.
Now we have a proof photo.
It's like always, the women are working, right?
Yes, it's
So, yeah, thank you very much. So.